Every year, PRN, along with other broadcast partners, gets the opportunity to sit down with every single NASCAR Cup Series driver and talk about the year ahead. This year was no different, and Doug Rice and Brad Gillie got to sit down with a host of drivers. Chris Buescher was one of those, and it started out with a curious question from Doug Rice.
In The Wizard of Oz, the movie, it starts off, it's black and white. Have you ever watched it?
It's been a long time.
But yep. You know, the first part of the movie starts off in black and white. Then the tornado comes around, takes Dorothy's house up in the sky, then drops it. And when she opens the door, the movie goes from black and white to color. I feel like that sort of describes your season last year. You're going along and you're doing okay. Then all of a sudden, you hit this part where you open up the door on your season. You win 3 out of 5 races, and you're off to the yellow brick road.
That was a heck of an intro. Well done.
Thank you. I worked on that.
And fair enough. Yeah, it was. And you know, black and white almost implies that it wasn't great, but I guess. We had a handful of races, a month and a half or 2 months even, that weren't quite where we wanted to. And certainly after that, found a pretty good rhythm. But, yeah, we just we hit that part of the year where I was able to get everything to click and fire on all 8. Went and won those 2 races back-to-back and couldn't have been any more stoked than we were at that moment. And a couple weeks later, able to go to Daytona and get a 1-2 finish out of it. So, you know, for me, it's been so cool to be a part of this at RFK, and you know, the rebranding and bringing it back to you know, honestly what it was when I signed up over there. Right, was, you know, people 5 teams over there and winning a quarter or more of the races in a season within the organization. You know, being so much closer to that than we've been since I can remember. So. What a heck of a year it was, and a heck of a start for us to get a baseline for this year coming up. And I think that's what, you know, we've been working towards, is finding a way to be more competitive and in the hunt for wins week in, week out. And we found that that ability and the opportunity to do that at not just short tracks, not just road courses or super speedways. I mean, we've been able to do it wherever we go, and you know, that's the big part to me, with the exception of just a small handful of racetracks that I personally just need to be much better at. We're going to be competitive everywhere we go this year.
You know what, to build on that, I'm always curious about how one season influences the next season, be it successes or failures. You know, so swimming around in your mind as we sit here in the middle of January, is there anything that you lingers from 23 that you say, okay, I'm carrying this into 24, good or bad? Yeah,
it's to me, it's been 2 years. Let me back up. So the new car came in, and so 2 years ago, the beginning of the season wasn't anywhere close to where we needed to be as an organization, and took us a lot longer in 2022. But by the end of the year, got to the point where we were able to win that Bristol night race, which is, you know, top of my bucket list. On a personal level, was massive to me. But not being in the playoffs at that point, and realizing that, you know, that's a big goal of ours as well. So trying to take that and carry it over into 23 and get rid of that first 6 to 8 week lull. And looking back on it, I don't feel like we were able to execute that 100%. Still felt like we fired off the season last year in 23. You know, the Clash wasn't good to us. The Daytona 500 was great, and we always know we're fast super speedways, but the West Coast swing was just okay. And that's one of the bigger things that I'm looking at, is I would love for that to be more competitive for us, so that we can really get going and not have to climb that mountain over the course of those first couple months. And I think we're in a good spot to be able to do that. And I look at the schedule and what we've got coming at us. There's also a lot of great tracks for us that are mixed in there a little bit more this year, to where I feel like we can certainly hit one of those, get our momentum, and really help carry us through some of those other races that we felt were a little tougher.
This may seem like an odd question, but how badly do you want to see Brad get one of these races and get a W?
Probably not as bad as he wants to, but trust me, it is high on my mind for everybody at RFK. But, you know, he's been such a huge part of this thing turning around and getting going. You know, and you know, that's not to take anything away from any of our ownership group and the Fenway group and Jack, but it's obviously been something that we've visibly seen very quickly in 2 years, make a turn for the better. And I know he's hungry for it, and he's been so close to so many places. And I think when I look at it, it's fun for me to look at it this way, and the fact that the races we won, we've both been very competitive at. I'm sure Bristol from 2 years ago is still on his mind. Having a tire failure leading that hurts, and I know that ended up being something that enabled us to be put in a great spot and win that race. But we're fighting for that win at Richmond together. We're on different strategies at Michigan shortly after that, and I think we pretty well covered that race on the strategy side of things, where if something would have happened there at the end, they were on significantly fresher tires and we're running insanely fast. So as an organization, we've covered both ends. We've been on the winning side of it. Daytona wouldn't have happened without Brad behind us. If that had been any other car behind us, unfortunately, there's a good chance of a wreck. But also, you would never have that kind of commitment behind you to make sure we got out front and then dueled it out from there. Not gonna lie, I expect him to pull out a little bit earlier, so that didn't quite happen, and we weren't quite side by side at the line. Although I fully expected that, so I thought we were gonna make a little bit more of a show out of it. But I think that was Brad, being a competitor, but also thinking about RFK as a whole, making sure that we finish 1-2, not 2-4 or not 1-5 or like that. Was making sure that we gave ourselves the best shot. So I know he's hungry for it. He's extremely calculated in his decisions. So I may be putting words in his mouth right now, but I would have to say that he's got a lot of races that he feels like he could change one little thing here or there from last season and be in the hunt for checkered flags.
Yeah, well, he's been on the wrong end of that teammates at Daytona thing before with his prior team, so I'm sure he understood. What is it? I mean, look, we know you'd won road races before in Xfinity and so on and so forth, but this next-gen car came out, and you top 10 in all but, 3 road races maybe? What is it?
I would love to take the credit, but honestly, I enjoy road racing. I consider myself a good road racer, not the best, but it's something that I have adapted to pretty well. I've had some really good teachers, driver coaches through the years. Starting all the way back with Dick Danielson in my ARCA days to Billy Johnson, who was at Roush helping me there, and Jack Roush Jr. A handful of others on the way that have Joey Hands helped us the last couple of years through the Ford program. Guys that are very, very good at their craft. Help them just kind of fine tune the little things. But my mindset's always been positive going into those races, and I think with that, it's enabled me to learn quicker at them. And on the flip side of that is RFK has done a great job with this new car of really getting up to speed quick, and we've hit something on road races that has made us very competitive. I would like that stat a whole lot better if there was a win in there somewhere, and we've been so close, but I do feel like while the consistency is there and we are competitive, we do have a small step to take to truly be in the hunt for the wins at those races, and so that's really the focus for those is how do we find that last, call it a tenth of a second, maybe half a tenth. It's small, but that's oftentimes the hardest step to take.